Yasodanandana Brajjanaranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Gopi Janvalabha Girivardhari Yasodanandana Brajjanaranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Om Vishnupad Paramamsipad Varajikacharya Astatar Satashishi Samadhi Si Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai Sankirtan Yagya Ki All glories to the assembled devotees Go to Premanandi Hari Hari Bol. Yes.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Thank you all so much for being here this morning. Grateful to all of you for coming and making the Saturday morning program so nice. I want to extend a welcome to our guests that are here in town. His Grace Parameshwar Prabhu and their graces Sri Rangavati and Bhavananda Prabhus. Thank you so much for being here and visiting with us. And also want to say a big thank you to all of the children that came today. Thank you so much. Add so much to the program. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. And this morning we'll have pancakes made by Paramanitai and Jishnu Prabhus. Along with real maple syrup, sponsored by Ravi Prabhu.
Haribo!
Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Jai. I must be back in Dallas. Temple. Yes. Hare Krishna. So nice to see you all again. Hare Krishna. Thanks for tolerating me in advance. So we have Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Continue readings from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 31, titled The Movements of the Living Entities, Text 32. Yadi Asadbi Pati Puna Shishnodara Kritodyamai Astito Ramate Jantus Tamo Vishati Purvavad Yadya Asadbi Pati Puna Shishnodara Kritodamai Astito Ramate Jantus Tomo Visati Purvavad Yadiya Sadbi Pati Puna Shishnodara Kritodamai Astito Ramate Jantus Tomo Visate Purvavad Yadiya Sadbi Pati Puna Shishnodara Kritodamai Astito Ramate Jantus Tomo Visati Purvava. Anybody want to chant? Yaya Sadvipati Puna Yari, if asad be with the unrighteous, pati on the path, puna again, shishna for the genitals, udara for the stomach, krita done, udyamai whose endeavors, ashtita associating, ramate enjoys, jantu the living entity, tama darkness, visati enters, purvavat as before. Translation: if therefore the living entity again associates with the path of unrighteousness, influenced by sensually minded people, engaged in the pursuit of sexual enjoyment and the gratification of the palate, he again goes to hell as before. Please repeat. If therefore the living entity again associates with the path of unrighteousness, influenced by sensually minded people, engaged in the pursuit of sexual enjoyment and the gratification of the palate, he again goes to hell as before. This is a fun part of the Bhagavatam here. Kapila Dev is just so purifying and so wonderful for propelling us to advance in Krishna consciousness. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. It has been explained that the conditioned soul is put into the Anda-tamisra and Tamisra hellish conditions, and after suffering there he gets a hellish body like the dogs or hogs. After several such births he again comes into the form of a human being. How the human being is born is described by Kapila Dev. The human being develops in the mother's abdomen and suffers there and comes out again. After all these sufferings, if he gets another chance in a human body and wastes his valuable time in the association of persons who are concerned with sexual life and palatable dishes, then naturally he again glides down to the same Anda-tamisra and Tamisra hells. Generally, people are concerned with the satisfaction of the tongue and the satisfaction of the genitals. That is material life. Material life means eat, drink, be merry, and enjoy, with no concern for understanding one's spiritual identity and the process of spiritual advancement. Since materialistic people are concerned with the tongue, belly, and genitals, if anyone wants to advance in spiritual life, he must be very, very careful about associating with such people. To associate with such materialistic men is to commit purposeful suicide in the human form of life. It is said, therefore, that an intelligent man should give up such undesirable association and should always mix with saintly persons. When he is in association with saintly persons, all his doubts about the spiritual expansion of life are eradicated, and he makes tangible progress on the path of spiritual understanding. It is also sometimes found that people are very much addicted to a particular type of religious faith. Hindus, Muslims, and Christians are faithful in their particular type of religion, and they go to the church, temple, or mosque. But unfortunately, they cannot give up the association of persons who are too much addicted to sex life and satisfaction of the palate. Here it is clearly said that one may officially be a very religious man, but if he associates with such persons, then he is sure to slide down to the darkest region of hell. Chakshuntamina tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shichitamano Bhistam Stapitamina Bhutale Svayam Pagalamayam Dati Varantika Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Translation repeated. If therefore the living entity again associates with the path of unrighteousness, influenced by sensually minded people, engaged in the pursuit of sexual enjoyment and the gratification of the palate, he again goes to hell as before. So for those who weren't here, maybe previous many Bhagavatam classes, Kapila Dev, Avatar, not different from Krishna, Vishnu Tattva, is, I assume, giving his mother this instruction. So he's pointing out all the miseries of this material world. So in the Bhagavad Gita, we have a verse that gives a whole list of things, and then at the end, Krishna says, other than this, it's considered ignorance. So Krishna is defining what knowledge is. And one of the many things that is listed there is contemplating the evils of birth, death, disease, and old age. And that's part of knowledge. So Kapila Dev is perfectly doing this, that part of that list, and pointing out how much suffering there is in this world. And for those who don't have control of their mind and senses, for those that are not advancing in Krishna consciousness, when the mind and the senses, second, we don't advance in Krishna consciousness, our mind and senses are attracted to this material world. Prabhupada says we all must be intoxicated. So everybody has to be intoxicated. If you don't get the spiritual high, you're going to go after that lower high. And that lower high, this is exactly what it leads to. And you see that people, I have a book table, I distribute the books, and people come by and they're kind of on the fence, and their friends are there, and should I take a book? They're kind of attracted. But then the second they go, well, I don't know, and your friends are going, come on. And you can just tell that association, that they're with, is going to just drag them. Come on, we got some enjoyment to do. And and then that cycle of birth and death just continues and continues and continues. And many people might think, well, cycle of birth and death isn't that bad, but Kapila Dev really points out how horrible it is. How horrible it was to be in a box this big for 9 months. Try to live in a closet for about a week. I did. When I was studying, I was studying some martial arts, and my martial arts teacher and I became roommates, and he went to a Buddhist temple and took a little break, and he came back and he was pointing out all, you got to do this. It's great. And so we decided to mantra. What is the sound of one hand clapping? So you meditate on that to kind of break through the mind. So I did that, and I got to a point where I'm like, look, I got to really figure out who I am. I'm not going to leave this closet until I figure out who I am. So I sat in that closet for a long time. And it's not fun just to just live in a closet, let alone in a womb for 9 months. It's like severe time. So this is what material life is. And then we have all these good intentions maybe, but if we don't take seriously to Krishna consciousness, then one slides back down into the old patterns, right? This association is so important. I worked at Sierra Tucson, which is a rehabilitation center, one of the best. I think back then it was considered the third best rehabilitation center in the country. I was a hiking guide, and I would take people on hikes, get them to, get in touch with their body and the beauty of the nature, and kind of implement some good spiritual instructions there. But we see that, I'm pretty sure everybody that is involved with rehabilitation knows that you have to get a higher power, you got to get in touch with a higher power, and you got to get a different set of friends, right? So I remember thinking how to spread Krishna consciousness, contemplating how to do that. And I looked up at the internet, so I wanted some marketing help. So I saw this marketing ace, charges $500 an hour. So I figured, hey, maybe he knows something. So I gave him a call, and he gave me 2 free hours. And because he just wanted to help. And he quickly grasped that, wow, you guys, Hare Krishnas, are all about finding a higher power and getting a new set of friends. He quickly grasped that, very sharp guy. And so that's exactly, we're the solution to rehabilitate the fallen conditioned souls. We get a higher power and a new set of friends, right? What is that verse? Anybody knows it? Feel free to jump in. It's been a while since I memorized that one, where it describes the 6 things you must do to have spiritual success. One of them is leaving the association of non-devotees, right? So we have to avoid the association of non-devotees. And you see that at Sierra Tucson, you get some it's very expensive, and you get some rock stars coming in, but they come in and then they leave and then they come back in. So why? Because they still have their old association. Maybe the drummer wants to get free of all his nonsense, but the guitarist doesn't. They're playing in a band, and that drummer comes back in again and again and again, right? Similarly with jail, people, prisoners, they come out again into the old same patterns. We have to get free of the patterns. And that's one beautiful thing I learned from my martial arts teacher, did a lot of Buddhist instruction with the monastery, is what I thought was really cool is I remember reading, it's the duty of the human form of life. It's our duty to get free of the conditioning of our family lineage that we've been brought up with. It's free of that. And be, unconditioned. Get into the unconditioned spontaneous. Of course, they didn't use the word spontaneous state. Well, they maybe did in some different language. Pure Krishna consciousness. So that's the solution, to get totally free from this unconscious state, and become fully Krishna conscious. So it seems, according to this purport, which I found very interesting, I always kind of wondered about the real details of what happens to one who labels themselves a religious person, rubber stamps a Christian, Buddhist, Hindu. Yeah, I'm good to go. Are they good to go? I always wanted more information regarding that. And here Prabhupada is giving some understanding in that. He says, it is sometimes found that people are very much addicted to a particular type of religious faith. Hindus, Muslims, and Christians are faithful in their particular type of religion, and they go to church, temple, or mosque, but unfortunately they cannot give up the association of persons who are too much addicted to sex life and satisfaction of the palate. Here it is clearly said that one may officially be a very religious man, but if he associates with such persons, then he is sure to glide down to the darkest region of hell. That's hardcore. I get these guys coming up to my table all the time, fanatic, mostly Christians, I had one at the end of it was such a beautiful day at UNT, tons of books flew out. And at the end of the day, such a good feeling. And then at the end of the day, the guy there, of course, anybody who's done some book distribution knows, the fanatic Christians come along. And they cannot, the brain's not working. It's just simply not working. Doesn't hear a word you say. Anyway, I did that little song and dance, and quickly this time, thank God, because I've been through it so many times. And, they think they're good to go. They think they're good to go. They think they're good to go, do all kinds of nonsense, do whatever they want, and everything will be fine. They're going to go to heaven when they die. Well, Lord Chaitanya, he told the Qazi, the Muslim Qazi, not picking on any religious group here, but, it's in this Chaitanya Charitamrita, that you Muslims are eating the meat, you're going to hell. Hardcore. Okay, here's another sample of what can happen if we don't really truly take to the path of God consciousness. And the path of God consciousness is not rubber stamping ourselves as this or that and listening to a guy on the podium with a big crown or whatever is considered the leader of the religious group. That may or may not do it for you unless we really become sincere. Sincere is the real qualification for entering into the kingdom of God. An example of this, you might go to a church and think your association is so wonderful. Maybe even you get the association of the pastor. I mean, not picking on anybody, but it's reality. My brother, he's a police officer in a smaller town in Arizona, and they got some complaints of this pastor having some problems with some ladies. And he thought, okay, he's kind of playing the role of Bhaktivinoda Thakur a little bit there. How he would get rid of the bad guys out of the town. And so he didn't want to do anything drastic, but one guy gave him a videotape of, I guess, exposing his thing. And he said, no problem, he gave me a copy of it and just mailed it to the pastor. And within about 12 to 24 hours, he was completely gone out of the town. So that was his way of dealing with that. So associating with people who are too much addicted to sex life and satisfaction of the palate. So this is really Maya, And ultimately, not only do we have to get rid of the association of people that are too addicted to materialistic life, but we have to get free of the association of material nature, right? You cannot cross this ocean of repeated birth and death. Maya is too powerful unless we surrender to Krishna. It's the only solution. Remember when I was a little boy, I was chanting the name of God a lot. Chanting the name of Christ. It's the only thing that would keep the monsters from attacking me at night. At least that's what I imagined. My mom said a big imagination. But yeah, I sleep in bed and it just felt like all these material elements, and I would just fall asleep chanting the name of Christ. But I found that chanting the name of Christ would agitate people nicely. So that was fun. So I would do that when I was a little boy. And my father couldn't take it, I think, at one point. Anyway, got thrown out of the house. And I remember Krishna giving me a vision about this nature of the world, because I live on 5-acre plots, and I'm just a little boy and just didn't know the world, and it gave me understanding of where the consciousnesses of the people were, and I went, oh my God, this is horrible. I'm going to immediately fall into the darkest region of existence by associating with such people. And even if I go back into that house, it's the same thing. And I remember just chanting and chanting and chanting, calling out to God, and it's like, God help me. But then I thought, how am I going to be able to, what am I going to spend my whole life doing this? And I thought, people think I'm crazy, because I didn't know the Hare Krishnas, they do it all the time. This is the solution. This is the real reality. To call out in that kind of, like when I was a boy, it was like purely calling out to God. Help of the Creator. Like at every moment, because there's not a solution. There's not going to be a material solution coming along just saying, hey, no problem, you don't have to chant so intensely anymore. It's all good. This is not going to happen. That is the pure state of consciousness, to just simply chant the holy name and purely calling out for Krishna like a little baby calling for its mother, right? And wish I had the Hare Krishnas around then. But later on, thanks to the mercy of so many nice Vaishnavas, I got in touch with this movement of just simply calling out Krishna's name. And there's really not another solution, right? Hare Namah, Hare Namah, Kevalam. So there's no other way, there's no other way. So this pure state of consciousness, calling out to Krishna, is the only solution. In this way we get free of the contamination of the material modes of nature. These modes of nature are not fun. For a man, the woman is so designed by Maya to attract, and if we don't go for Krishna, we go for this object that provides so many nice things. And what is it in 7th canto? Describes how can a person leave this blind well of materialistic life with so many nice things. So the woman provides so many nice palatable dishes and provides so much sense gratification, and the little child has such sweet words, and how can he leave this blind well? So one must really take that wherever we're at, whatever ashram we're in, make sure it's an ashram, and then we can live transcendentally to this whole thing. So I'm not like saying one ashram is better than another, that's not what I'm going into. But the point is when a man doesn't go for Krishna, he goes after the woman, and then at the time of death, if he gets a human body, he's thinking the woman, he's going to go into a female body, and then again it continues. Then he thinks that this man provides me this nice home and children and everything's okay, and she doesn't call out the name of God. So this is the solution, calling out, the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Then we get free of this onslaught of material dimension. Then we are in the internal potency of Krishna. So that potency get a higher high. And it's the duty of all of us to make sure everybody's intoxicated, right? See somebody like feeling a little down, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. We feel ourselves a little down, better read some Bhagavatam, kind of forgetting what it's all about, read some Bhagavatam, get your high, stay high forever, and try to help everybody else get high. And then if you step few little feet outside this temple and walk across the street, and you go, oh my God, okay, this person really needs a lot of Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, and a book, and take this, and here's some prasad, right? So we have an enormous amount of living entities who have not become so fortunate as us yet. And it's the duty of the unfortunate to make the fortunate to make the unfortunate fortunate, right? So by distributing this knowledge in whatever shape and form, the books, very important activity, probably says the most important activity, try to increase the book distribution, invite people to the restaurant, the programs, see this nice program this afternoon, it's wonderful, really wonderful. And, help other living entities come to Krishna, invite them to the temple, so forth and so on. And we see this working. And we see things expanding. We see things expanding all over the world. Prabhupada's program works perfectly. And just need to take shelter of Krishna, which really means, Prabhupada, he defined the Hare Krishna movement as this: hey rascal, please become Krishna conscious. That was his definition of the Hare Krishna movement in one conversation. Hey rascal, please become Krishna. So I don't recommend trying that. I tried that once, almost lost my teeth. But this guy was too big. He had gold teeth or whatever, and things on his, lots of rings, and this guy was 6'4", probably weighed 220 pounds, solid muscle. Wrong guy to say that to. In one form I said that to him, and that didn't work. What did you say? Do you want any teeth? I'm like, okay. I'm sorry. I contemplated in my mind real quickly. Well, do I speak like straight up truth here? Would that be the right thing to do? Or am I going to have a $25,000 dental bill and get a lot less books? So, I'm sorry. And I quickly split. So, yeah. But, in a sense, you know, the movement is the preaching movement. It's a preaching movement. If you have life, preach, right? So I woke up this morning. By Krishna's mercy, I have some life still. I don't know what happens when you all get young. You don't realize that when you get older, you're grateful you wake up. It's very humbling experience. When you get older, you don't know what's going to happen at any moment. So, but we have life, preach. And preaching, of course, we all know what preaching is. But just because Prabhupada said book distribution must be given stress always, not to be a fanatic about it, but the more we can engage in book distribution, really good for the world. I mean, I was just at UNT, just set up a table, put up my sign that says free yoga and meditation books. I got my free small ones and the other big ones. And I didn't have to do a darn thing. I didn't even have time to read a book all day. Just one after another, taking books. Sometimes there would be like as many as 8 people at the table. Going 10 billion miles an hour trying to get the books out and get donations from them. And this is a lot of books. Probably 250 books went out yesterday. I ran out of a lot of the small ones very quickly. And that was a short day. And that was a Friday when the schools are the slowest. So Texas is amazing, actually. I mean, not to say one place is better than another, but Texans are cool. And they can take everywhere. Everybody's cool, but Texas is a special place for preaching, really. To take advantage of this grand opportunity y'all are in would be very much best for the world and best for ourselves. By doing this is like the alchemical process. The preaching is the alchemical process from where we realize this knowledge, where we become actualized, where we actually become a living Bhagavata. We get, Krishna reveals things. Because on a religious man, yes, I'm a Christian, Buddhist, Hare Krishna, I'm all good to go. I'm going back home to Godhead. How many people have you met where they're coming from a particular land where you offer them a Gita and say, I already know this, right? Are you fitting into that category, religious man? You know, you're eating chicken, oh my God, you really don't get it. You didn't get it. I'm sorry. But it really is important for us to really get it. And getting it really means, I like what Hanuman Prashak Swami Maharaj said. He's kind of like, at least he used to be, probably still is, the leader of the educational facility in ISKCON. And so he says, get the exact quote, that, and I'm paraphrasing because I can't remember, but you can tell how educated a person is in this by how well he's plugged into the Sankirtan movement of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Did he get it? You can read all these books 1 billion times over, but if you're not practically engaged in the spreading of Krishna consciousness movement, Lord Chaitanya, you didn't understand a word. You really didn't. You didn't get it. So, and by just preaching, you get it. Krishna reveals. So we should remember that, was it Bhaktisiddhanta, Prabhupada's guru, he said something really cool here. I'll leave it at this and open it for questions. Just to give some referencing. Oh God. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj, he is giving his final instructions. This is his final instructions to a very dear group of beings. And the last of his final instructions before he leaves the planet. He gives 17 instructions. And the last one, because a lot of people don't understand the importance of the preaching aspect. The last instruction is, preach the message of Sri Rupa and Raghunath fearlessly and with great enthusiasm. Through this preaching, you will attain all perfection. So through this preaching, you will attain all perfection. So that is the process from which we become living Bhagavatas and realize Krishna. And at the time of death, you know, Krishna is personally taking you back. You know, this is, you want to hear evidence for this? I'll have a quick story. Let me know if everybody's heard this already. But this was told by me, to a group of us, by Radhakun Mataji, I think is her name. Great book distributor. And she said that Nirguna, you remember Nirguna Prabhu from Atlanta? Yeah. So Nirguna Prabhu was a book distributor his whole life. And he got some cancer, something like that. And he's in Mayapur, about to leave his body. And so Radhakun Mataji, she said, well, Prabhupada said that if you distribute books till you die, Lord Chaitanya will personally take you back to the spiritual world. So if I go to see Nirguna Prabhu now, about to leave his body, I'm going to see Lord Chaitanya. So she went there, and there's a group of people around, you know, and Nirguna Prabhu says, take me around, something like this, take me around, go over downhill, I want to go over downhill. And they're like, well, I don't know how practice will be for you, Prabhu, sorry, but here's a Govardhan Shila. They put it on his chest. And he's like, ah. And then he starts talking, and somebody asks him, who are you talking to? And he goes, Mahaprabhu. He said, what is he saying? He says, it's time to go and take the Shila with you. So then he left. And they searched everywhere. According to this story from Radhakun Mataji, they searched everywhere and couldn't find the Shila. How about that? So, here's some evidence that if we really, truly take to this preaching, you know, through this preaching you will attain all perfection. So this is so comforting. You know, free forevermore from going into a box for 9 months. I mean, ultimately, we pure devotees don't care if they come into this material world or they're, you know, preaching, or they're in the spiritual world dancing with Krishna. But at least this is a good impetus, all this is, for us to take seriously, purely to Krishna consciousness. And then we don't have issues. There's no problems. We become Atmarama, self-satisfied. And we develop the qualities of a Vaishnava. Prabhupada says, only by the qualities of a Vaishnava. No, he didn't. Oh, rephrase that. He said, through the qualities of a Vaishnava, this Krishna consciousness movement will spread. By the qualities of a Vaishnava. Without those qualities of a Vaishnava, it's just the same old thing. Rubber stamp ourselves, this or that. So it's best for us, best for the world, taking this seriously, which includes the preaching, yeah. I'll stop there. Thank you for tolerating me. Any comments or questions? Yes.
I had a question when you were talking about how, I like the point where you, like if you're feeling down, just pick up the Srimad Bhagavatam, or like realize and just read. And I was just thinking, like when I am in like a mood of distress, I do tend to be more inclined to Krishna consciousness. But when I'm not in distress, I don't like go towards it as much, and I feel regretful of that. So what's one way I could fix that habit of mine?
I had a friend who, second he got up in the morning, he smoked a joint. And if he ever got a little low, he just smoked some more, you know. And when he didn't, he got really irritable. And he knew that, so he kept smoking away. Died at age 51. So, so knowing that if you don't, you're going to get stress. Stress is going to come along. Just knowing that, you said that when stress comes, then you take to Krishna. But why not never just get stressed? Why not always be intoxicated? Always totally absorbed. And more and more and more. It's a higher high. And discipline is part of being a disciple, discipline. So taking to it in certain dosages. I know what I need, certain dosages of sadhana I need, certain dosages of preaching I need. Otherwise my mind and senses start losing control, gaining control over me. So finding what balance you need in your life and staying with it really intensely about it. And in Tucson, they have what's called, where I grew up, they have emissions testing. I don't know if you have that here. At least in the old days, you had to pull the wheel over, pull up your car and pull the wheel on this thing that spins, and you got to hold it between whatever, 18 and 26 miles an hour for 45 seconds, which took a lot of concentration. So you're like, and then you space out a little bit, and it goes below 18. You're like, the guy's like fried out. No, man, you got to start over again, man. You know, okay. And you know, so, you know, and then you start getting a little attentive, and you go, oh, 27, 30. Hey, go, man, come on, you got to take it over again. So all that stress, all that time that it took me to space out and all the rest of the things, I could have got out of there in a minute, but it took me 5 minutes, more time, and more energy output than if I just would have been attentive at the start. It would have been a better experience. So similarly, knowing what the too much zone is, the strain zone, knowing what the comfort zone is, and somewhere in the middle is the stretch zone. And so if you constantly monitor your consciousness and stay right in the middle of that stretch zone, and just utilize, you have that always there, and whatever you do all day long, every day, then you're doing the best you can. And you get the result. And you use a lot less energy. And Prabhupada even says no fatigue takes place if you do Krishna consciousness right. How about that? So many things. It's the most nectarian, it's the best place to be. And so if you can somehow monitor your consciousness in that way and just add in, cut out the things. One thing that I do every quarter, actually every week, but largely every quarter, roughly, I'll just have my list of things, and I'll just like throw out all these things that I need to do, that get them done, and then just simplify my life greatly so that I can really do that. So many things, simplification, yeah. So you just focus on Krishna and assess things. Well, my book scores went down this month. What happened? You always monitor that. Just try to stay right there always. Yes. Hope that helps.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you so much for class. This is kind of more so something Prabhupada touched on in the purport, not something that you stress much during your class, but I would love to hear your answer of, Prabhupada is talking about how, the tongue, belly, and genitals are so strong. And I've heard that of all of the senses, the tongue, the tongue is the most voracious. Something that I've been struggling with is, when we were first joining, they say, eat prasadam up to your neck. This is like how you purify yourself. But after a while, we start to see, no, in order to do my service nicely, I need to really be careful about what I put into my body and not just take everything. But it's very difficult. How do we practice that part of that, like controlling the tongue? I don't know if you have any tips for that.
Out of those 6 most important things to do, to have full success in Krishna consciousness. One is not eating too much. So not eating too little also, right? Bhagavad Gita, don't eat too much or too little, balanced. It's a sign of a devotee. I remember, when I had a guru from another group, I thought she said something really cool. She said, you're not fat, you're not thin, you're not tall, you're not short, you're not this body. And if you just keep chanting, you focus on the chanting, and all that will become regulated. I thought it was so revolutionary thinking. And it really, really is the answer. You focus on attentive chanting. And by just doing that, everything works out magically, really magically. And you become aware, like Krishna just guides everything from there. Like everything regarding everything, he just guides it from within. So that's you'll know when too much is too much or whatever. You might not know that right away, but if you keep that practice going, then you get more and more tuned in. Yeah, that's my thoughts on the matter, of course. Or if you're like me, I go out on Mount Rushmore for 6 months, eat basically only granola, never even cook out there, it's crazy me. And I lose like a lot of weight, and then I get to the Tucson temple in December for about 2 weeks there, and I gain a lot of weight, because I know I'm going to be losing a lot of weight. So, and for book distribution, you need some energy. It depends on your service. Sometimes it's better to eat more than a little more if need be to do your service, or some services a lot less, depending on how active your service is. If you have a very active physically service, better eat too much than too little. And if you have a very sedentary service, better eat a little less than too much. But I can relate with eating too much, of course. But I've got Mount Rushmore coming up, so I got a little extra weight there. And the cold weather also, seriously, I'm out cold, and you better have a little extra fat on your body, or you're just going to get sick. So, what was I going to say? What was it right before then? I had something important to say. What was I saying? About Mount Rushmore, eating too much. I'll remember it, hopefully I'll tell you. Sorry. I went on a tangent and then forgot what was I going to say. What was your questioning? Okay, don't eat too much. Oh yeah, I remember. And then my father, so when I first joined, my father said, I thought everything was fine. I used to do exercise like anything, but I hadn't done that when I first joined. And I remember thinking, I got to do some physical work. My father said, you might want to get on the scale. And I got on the scale, and I weighed 208 pounds. I gained 40 pounds, like 35 pounds. Oh my God, in a matter of a month or two. Oh, Jesus Christ. I had no idea. I tried to go for my usual six mile jogs. Oh, that was tough. So, yeah, you don't want to get anything out of control. Monitor. Getting back to monitoring. Any comments or questions? Also, eating healthy. When you eat really healthy, that's a big part of it. You're gonna, get in because your body's gonna crave nutrients. So get the nutrients, try to avoid the non-nutrient food as much as practical. I mean, eat high-calorie foods. So get enough exercise. I circumambulate the temple. When I used to go to the San Diego temple, they have all these suites. I would literally circumambulate that temple maybe 500 times a day. Right? So you make spiritual progress this way. It's great. Yeah. So any more comments or questions? Sorry.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for your class and your responses. I really appreciate it. And I really like this analogy of the stories of when you were a boy and relating the closet to the being in a mother's womb for so long. That was really sweet. My question is about how you said that we need to become free from our unconscious conditional state of mind. And I'm wondering how this relates to like this practice of dovetailing things in Krishna consciousness, is that meant to eventually free us from this conditioned state, or is it kind of like also perfecting things if we can just dovetail everything in Krishna's service? But yeah, can you comment on that?
Yeah, we don't really need to be, you should read the books regularly so we really understand the philosophy nicely, and by dovetailing everything in Krishna consciousness, automatically everything works out just great. But to know, like, okay, by reading the books, studying the books, we actually get an understanding as to what's going on, which is really good. Otherwise, the tendency to get too mental might creep in. But when we have an understanding, then we know what's going on. So, yeah, and just simply dovetailing everything for Krishna, working under the guidance of your spiritual superiors nicely. That's a critical element to it all as well. And they help you stay in the middle of that stretch zone. Not that you have to give up being your own person, but just see them as guides, real bona fide spiritual guides, and appreciating them, and appreciating all devotees, careful not to offend devotees, and appreciate devotees. I spent 6 months at Mount Rushmore. I mean, once a month there might be a devotee coming by for about 1 minute saying, Haribol! I get a Haribol, hear a Haribol once a month for about 30 seconds. Not even that, 5 seconds. So, association devotees is so important. Whatever you do, plug yourself into the association devotees, and everything will work out. But you got to do that nicely, otherwise they won't want you around, then you're in trouble. So always try to be a nice devotee.
Okay.
Stop there because it's getting late. But maybe after, because you said 8:30, right? And you all want pancakes. And maybe there'd be like 17 householders that already took them all, that came in. So, yeah. And brahmacharis too, sorry. They didn't go attend the class. And so we'll stop here. I'm happy to answer questions later though. Thank you for tolerating me. Thank you for being here. Y'all are so wonderful. Seriously, for making this all available and granting me your nice association. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaura Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol.